This conference will now be recorded.
Fine. Hey guys, good morning. And let's talk about today with the namespaces. I'll take a very less session today. It's a one topic will go, okay, without confusing. Very and then in-depth level of practical way we discussed, okay. There we know. Let's see. And what we're going to discuss today, namespaces. We already know about this, right? What is the default namespaces for Kubernetes? Basically, if you do here, kubectl get ns. If we execute this command, we will get the what are the namespaces are there. What are the namespaces are there in our system. Now, if before deploying the Kubernetes dashboard, if you install the Kubernetes dashboard, then only we'll get this namespace. And the kube system, kube public, node, lease, and the default. These four is the default namespaces. Default namespace, like as when you install this, these are the welcome. What are the application you are gonna deploy? What is the namespace is deployed? Our applications that namespace is called as a default. The namespace itself default. By default, it will be deployed. Understand? Na? Don't confuse. The namespace name itself is a default. When you deploy any pod or anything, any whatever you deploy, like service, daemons, and whatever, everything will be deployed on a default namespace only. By default, default namespace will be executed. Clear? That is a default namespace. Now, in some real cases, let's say for example you are working on a different projects, okay, different projects or different client, whatever could be, what they are gonna do, they are gonna do different namespaces. They are gonna create different namespaces. They are gonna create those namespaces. They are gonna deploy their application in a specific namespaces. They are gonna deploy their application in the specific namespaces. Okay, that is the one scenario. Okay, then there is a different teams, like as let's say testing, okay, testing team, and then let's say like SRE team, and let's say dev team, that's a DevOps team, like they have different teams are there. Now they are deploying their application and their environment, let's say testing related application in the testing namespace, and like as dev related application dev environment, and let's say all those, let's say whatever DevOps related means what, Jenkins, SonarQube, Nexus, let's say these kind of applications. Now you can create a namespace under DevOps and deploy the DevOps application in the one namespace. Like that, we are namespace in the sense it is virtual area on your cluster. It's a virtual space in your cluster. It's a space if you can understand. Okay, let's say the Kubernetes cluster is a one village. Let's take a one village, and in a namespace means it's a namespace. It means it's a one home in that village. One home in that village. In that home, there is a number of people will be stay. Okay, that what those guys we are calling. That's a what are the how many people are there? That many that means that many applications in that namespace. Is it clear now? What are the applications, the services, demand set, everything in that namespace we can deploy. In that we can deploy. Understand, guys? Understand or not? Now let me draw the diagram. You will get a more clarity on this. Now let's say this is the one our cluster. Let's say this is our cluster. Now there is this is the one namespace, and this is the namespace, and this is the namespace. Wow, robo, right? And this namespace we can deploy our applications. I'm not drawing a diagram. I'm not doing a robo here. It's a clusters. Okay, that's the namespace. That is the applications. Clear now? Now this is the cluster, and this is the namespace. This is the namespace. In this, here is the pod, pod, and then services, and the whatever could be pods, services, and then whatever you want. Okay, pod services, deployments, all. It's a different all. It's the same thing is running on a different namespaces. And a specific namespaces, your application can be deployed. Clear, guys? Clear now? Understand, guys? Okay, this is the what we are calling what virtual namespace. Let's discuss about that. As a technically Kubernetes namespaces. Kubernetes namespace. Where is this, man? Where my mind is, where is going on? Namespaces, config my secret, giant setup, deployment, service type, important binds. Coming, Madhu. Okay, fine. See here, Kubernetes namespaces. What is Kubernetes supports the multiple virtual clusters. Even this we are calling a virtual clusters backend by the same physical cluster. Backend by the same physical cluster. These virtual clusters are called as a namespaces. What we are calling this virtual cluster as called as a namespaces. The namespaces are intended to for use the environment which many users spread across the multiple teams or projects. For cluster with a few tens of users, you should be not need to create or think about the namespace at all. Now, basically, if a cluster have a few tens of users, like a few things, then you don't need to also even creating a namespaces at all. Like in that case, namespaces provide a scope of names. The names of resources you need to be unique to within the namespace, but not across the namespaces. Now, what are the application on a specific namespaces? Then we can deploy in a specific namespace. Using a Kubernetes namespace could be isolate the namespace from the different environments, dev, staging, pre-prod, production, in the same cluster. If you want to deploy, you can deploy this means. No, but it is not a good practice at all. Dev, staging, prod, and a production deploy in the same cluster. If the cluster will go down, then entire, all clusters will be go down. But what we do, we are creating a dev cluster, pre-prod cluster, production cluster. All we are creating a different, Kubernetes clusters in a real-time scenarios. Okay, separate cluster we create, separate AWS account, maybe like separate not AWS account. I mean separate organizations maybe. Okay, in the same root account, they have multiple accounts we can create on top of that we are calling as a AWS organization. Now we can create the separate organization or maybe okay, or else we can create a different cluster names that we can manage it. Okay, that's what it is. Kubectl get namespace. If we do this, we'll get a the by default namespace is this, and if we can see like this kubectl get namespaces, this is what exactly we got, right? And the default is the namespace, the object, no other like objects with the no other namespaces. The namespaces are objects created in the Kubernetes system. Kubepublic, this namespace created automatically and related to all users, including those not authenticated users. This namespace is mostly reserved for the cluster usage. In case of some resource should not be visible reliable publicly throughout the whole the cluster, the public aspects of this namespace is only convention, not for the requirement. Okay, and there is some restriction on the namespaces. The namespace must be DNS label and follow the rules. Okay, at most 26, like small maximum 63 characters we can keep it, and matching regular expressions we can give the like as alphabetical number alphabeticals, and then numeric numbers, and then a combination of this whatever could we can use. Now create a cluster using the simple command. Kubectl create a namespace test. The my namespace name is what? Test. Let's create a using this one. Kubectl create namespace test. Now this is very important. This is the one of the exam question also. Okay. Exam question means in the one question, this is the one, okay, what we can say, one line of that code. They will give a cluster role binding and namespace creation. First we need to create cluster role and we need to create a namespace and we need to be cluster role binding on a specific namespace only. That specific namespace only need to give the access. Okay. In that scenario, what we are gonna do, we are gonna create this, this role. Is it clear, guys? I mean, like this namespace name. Now see, the namespace test is created. Oh. Again, kubectl get namespace. You can see there is a application. Let's see if you want to get that kubectl get namespace. Okay, get pods. And if you want to get the specific, if you enter this by default, which namespace will get these pods actually? These are the pods from which namespace? Huh?
Default.
Tell me. Which namespace these pods? Default. And if you want to get our specific namespace, we need to give the -n and namespace name. -n namespace name. Okay, this is exactly, remember, in real time also we are going to troubleshoot. Okay, and you should know that what are the applications are deployed on which namespace and which namespace you are gonna working on it. Which namespace contain which applications are running. If you know that, we can go simply like this. Understand, guys? And once we get the namespace for that, and you need to be work out on this. You need to be work on this. How we can do this? kubectl nothing. Okay, let get. Now we have a namespace, but we don't have anything in this part. In this, there is no parts in this namespace. Okay, that's what we're gonna do. What I'm gonna do first of all, let me this Terraform practicals document. Let me close this. Okay, this is the one way. And another way is that we can create a YAML file. Okay, it's just simple. In real-time scenario, what we can do, we are gonna do this way. Okay, what we are gonna do, we can create YAML because of someone want to, like, after you left the company, like someone you want to create, then you can create this way. No, the namespace name is what we are giving. Let's say this is a new namespace. The namespace itself I given a called as a new namespace. If you want, you can give whatever you want. Let's say some, some blah blah things, whatever. Let's say monitoring namespace. Okay. See, this if you can observe here. Let's apply this now. kubectl apply -f and then new namespace.yaml file. Now see here. Array. If you can observe, there is a two namespaces are created for this, right? One is using command line, one is using YAML file. One is command line, one is YAML file. These are two things we are done. Now once it is done, then what we are going to do, let's deploy for application. This is we are done. New namespace, right? Okay. Fine. Let's deploy application in a specific namespace. Okay. Right now, which namespace I want to deploy this application? I'm going to deploy this application a test namespace. Okay, test namespace. Either we can use -hyphen namespace equal to test or else -hyphen namespace test. Anything is fine. Clear, guys? kubectl run. This is the pod name, and this is the run container name or pod name, or let's say. And the next, this is the image name. This is the image name. Inside you want to deploy, and this is the namespace. And now if you can see kubectl get pods, where it gonna deploy QTM application is the QTM application is available in the default namespace. See, there is no this application QTM application is not deployed in the default namespaces. Where this image is pulled, you guys remember now in Docker session the first time we discussed the QTM hello world application. The same image I'm deployed here now. Okay, now if you can get the pods -n test namespace, go here. If you can observe here, this is the QTM is running here. The QTM is running. Clear now, guys? And the next what we do? If you want to all the namespaces, get pods. Okay, even this we already knows this, right? Everything will come. This default namespace pods, keep system pods, keep dashboard pods, and the test namespace pod also. The test namespace, this is the what we are running. That simply. And you want to get the specific namespaces, we can use the -n and namespace name also, or else we can give the whatever, like as you know, full name and then equal to. It's a very lengthy, right? That's the reason we did a very shortcut. Get pods -n test. Or else we can give the -n namespace equal to test. That also fine. Anything is fine. Anything will be work. Okay. The next what we do? This deployment will create a pod and replica set and deployment object. Okay. Let's even this will deploy it on a get pod, get replica set -n test. Let's go for the test. What happened? There is no resources found in the replica set. Okay, and go for deployment. There is no deployments. There is no replica sets. How the previously it was created. Now this run command. Earlier we created a replica set deployment also. Now it was deployed only to only pod is creating. But previously this run command, if you're not specifying anything, it will deploy everything now. I mean like as pod replica set deployment. By default is a deployment object. Now it's if you deploy this way, it is nowadays the by default it's a just pod only. There is not a deployment object. Okay, just remember that. Replica set deployment object, no more actually. Okay, remember that we are not getting anything about the replica set and deployment. See here, if you want to get that out, let's do one thing. Get rs. There is no deployments for test. There is no replica set. There is no deployments for this test namespace. Nothing. Nothing. Okay. Now what I'm gonna do? Let's do one thing. Okay. I'm gonna create a YAML file. That is a normal way deployed. Okay, this is the way to write a manifest for pod. If you can observe here, there is only one thing will come extra. What is this? For pod, inside the metadata, we can give the specify the namespace name. Which namespace you want to deploy. For example, let's say which namespace you want to deploy. Monitoring, like monitoring we have created. Where exactly we are going to specify the namespace. Can you hear me? No, man, I'm not in mute actually. I'm not sure. Okay. Now, what I mean, let me go again. Now, I declare the pod manifest here. Okay, the pod manifest. What extra will come here? The pod manifest. There is a only one line will come extra here. That this pod, which namespace you want to deploy. This pod, which namespace you want to deploy. You can specify this. If you're not specifying this line, where it will deploy this, basically it will deploy in the default namespace. If it specify this namespace name, this pod is gonna deploy in the monitoring namespace. Is clear, guys? Clear now? Okay, that's what I did. Okay, kubectl apply -f my tutor model. Okay, let's see what I'm gonna do. Kubectl. Okay, get pods test. Now see, tutor is running here. Test namespace and monitoring. This is the one is running. If you're not specifying anything, this my tutor is running on the monitoring namespace, and the you know this tutor is running on the test namespace. This is the test namespace. This one application is running. Monitoring namespace one application running. At the kubectl level, one application is running. I know how many applications are running here, but these applications are not running in the default namespace. The separated, like what are the applications are running on a specific namespaces. It won't show in the one namespace application in the other namespace. That you should be remember. Is it clear, guys? Clear now? Okay, that is the one. And the next, what you do? Hmm. See, if you by default, if you did not specify the namespace in the command line, Kubernetes will create a well, in case if you not specify this, let's say here you did not specify. If you did not specify this, let's say, in case you did not mention here, what you can do, you can deploy it for can comment this, and you can if you delete this actually, if you delete this line, and if you want to deploy this, how we are going to deploy, you can deploy kubectl apply, and then you can specify the namespace fnn, and then that specific namespace, let's say whatever, let's say if I deploy the test namespace, it deploys the test namespace application again. Okay, now see kubectl get get uh okay, see the test namespaces, these two applications running. Clear now, guys? If you do not specify the YAML file, you can, but this is not a good way to do this. In real time also, you must be specify the namespace label in the metadata. That means manifest. Okay, clear? But if you not specify, if you want to deploy in a specific namespace, you can do this way. You can do this way. Okay, clear? That is also one option. That is also we have one more option. Okay, but this is not a good way to do. You can mention in a YAML file manifest. That is a good option. Okay, change the default namespace. Now get the current context where we are now. What we do? We are getting the config view. Config view. The context is what is the default it is. It's a Kubernetes admin Kubernetes. And okay, fine. Let me show you what I mean. Now basically, when you do the kubectl get pods, what pods are coming now? What pods are coming now? Default namespace pods, right? But your scenario, you are not deployed anything in the default namespace, let's say. You are not deployed anything in the default namespaces, but you are not working in the default names by default. So every time I'm getting bored to get this, enter this, enter this, sorry, my habit. Okay, let's say by default, let's say I want to deploy this and a test. Okay, in a test, like while doing test, that means what? Every time you are going to specify namespace, right? But if you want to set up your namespace is the default namespace, instead of this default namespace, by default these are default namespace pods, right? You want to set up test is the default namespace. Test is the default namespace. Then how we can do this? Understand it? When I do the kubectl get pods, I should get the test namespace pods, not for the default namespace pods. Or else if I deploy anything, that can be done in the test namespace only. Everything. Even I don't want to specify the namespace name. Understand, guys? Simply override the default namespace. Override the default namespace. That is what concept. Clear, guys? Clear now? Understand? Okay. Now let's how we can do this. You can specify this, kubectl config set current. Let's set up this. Instead of new namespace, what we created monitoring, right? Let's set up a monitoring. This monitoring, or else let's say if you want, you can set the test, whatever you like. Whatever you like, you can set up this. Clear now, guys? Any confusion here? Now let's say this modified. Now if I do the get pods, observe here. Which namespace pods coming now? No. I specify the -n test now here. No, right? No, right? See, if I do the get pods, which namespace pods are coming? We got a test namespace. Now, how we can set up this? The default namespace kubectl config set -context -current this namespace name. Test this. Yeah, man. If Siva, can you please mute? Okay. Clear, guys? Clear now? This you want to set up a default namespace, your namespace is a default namespace. We can use the set context and a current, and the next namespace name you can give this. Okay, then it will be a setup for your namespace is a default namespace. Okay, if you want to can how we can delete the namespace, just simply kubectl Now, how to delete the namespace? Delete the namespace and namespace name. Namespace name, what I'm gonna do? Let's delete the namespace name with test. I'm gonna delete now. You can see that's what I just we shown, right? Get context, config view, no? Config view. If you can observe here, we can see this. The context, we can see the namespace. In the config view, if you type, you will get to know here. By default, administration something it will be there. Okay, like here. Before this, now it was a here we are set up for the test now. This the test is the default name. If you want, you can do that too. I'm not sure, like we won't do that. If you want, you can delete that. Let's try that. If I delete that, all the parts will go down. Okay, the entire we'll do that end. Okay, remind me. Okay, who was this Sitaraman? Remind me finishing the class now that time. Again, I can't apply for each application. I need those applications. Okay, whatever we did. Remind me like at the end of the course. We'll do that. What are the namespace? Whatever you want, we can play around that. Okay, clear now? Fine. Now, what we do? Let's huh, you are this right? Fine. And let's delete the namespace. Yo. Which namespace I'm going to delete? Let's say delete the test namespace because this test namespace I set up now. I'm deleting this now. I'm deleting test namespace. Let's say I'm deleting this test namespace now. What happens? The test namespace I deleted. But what I mentioned, the test namespace is the default namespace. Clear now, guys? I mentioned like config if you see, by default is the namespace is the test, but the namespace I deleted. If you do kubectl get namespace, I'm playing this. That's it. Nothing else. There is no test namespace. There is no test namespace here. I deleted that. If I do kubectl get pods, what happens? What happened, guys? Guess it. What happened if I do this command? Nothing to show now. Is any error will come or nothing to show? No recess found in the test namespace. Okay, and then let's see that play around that. Okay, okay, this is the get namespace. Okay, now what we do? Let me deploy the one application. Again, Qtum I'm deploying now. What is saying this? Why it's showing the error? Because we set up a test is the default namespace. The namespace is deleted. Now that's the reason it's coming to this error. Now again you want to set up the default namespace again back. Understand now what I mean? You have a requirement like a default namespace by default. You want to set up your namespace the default namespaces. Again you want to go for the not only monitoring, whatever you want, like as default monitoring, whatever you want to set up. Then how we can do that? That's what again I'm going to show. Same command you need to execute. That's it. No? If you want to default namespace, we can specify the just empty. If you want to specify the specific namespace, this here. If you want to set up a monitoring, you can set up a monitoring like this. If you don't want to set up anything, just empty. Empty means that called as a default. You clear now, guys? See, if you do get pods now, the default pods will come. If you set up a monitoring pod will come. That's it. If you config view, if you see what happened now, here the namespace name won't appear here. Here the namespace name won't appear here. If you specify the namespace only, that namespace will come. If you're not specifying any namespace is not appearing, means what? What? There is no, by default is the default namespace. If any custom namespace is there, that only then only it will show here. Okay, that you can remember. That is a what. Okay. The next what we can see. If you want to we want to see that UI level. Okay, how we can get the specific namespace points. Okay, let me show the UI also. kubectl get svc hyphen all hyphen name spaces 32425. https is mandatory, and then 32425 advanced accept and risk. Again we need to do this now. Kuberium setup new, and last you can, this is the token to get a token, get the token. What happened is way. It's coming now. I'm not sure that time maybe not copied properly. Okay, now if you can observe here, there is a namespaces here. Okay, there is a namespaces here. If you can observe namespaces, earlier how it will be, there is a namespace option here, there is a drop down option will come, all the namespaces will come in that drop down. Now UI got changed actually. Okay, if I click this namespaces, in the namespaces, what are the namespaces which we have? This many namespaces are there. Now if you can see default namespaces, what are the pods are running, we can observe here right now. What is this running, what is the events, and metadata. 7 days ago, not much information. No, let's do one thing. Go for the parts with the parts, workload, jobs of parts. This is the default namespace parts. Do we have any option here? This is the default namespace are here. Now they given here actually. It got changed, UI got changed. Even if you see my previous videos in YouTube, even that namespace will come this side. Okay, now it got changed. All the namespaces went away up. Okay, if which namespace you want to work, we can see this is a default namespace, and mounting namespace you want, this is the application, and cube system application you want, this is a cube system. We can see. Clear, guys? Fine. Any questions, guys? This namespaces. The next demand sets we'll discuss demand sets, cron job, jobs. Okay. In here, what are the things pending? This anyway, we are not using real-time scenarios also. The state either replica set or replication controllers. Okay. And stateful sets is there. Stateful sets we can use for RAID scenario, like as in if you want to set up a RAID and all. We'll discuss this. A very important question they're going to ask you. What is the difference between the deployment object and stateful object? Okay, there is some difference between these two. Okay, they will ask you, and they will ask that is the one. And service level, this service we discussed. Ingress will talk later, and the config maps secrets will discuss. Persistent volume will discuss later. And this no namespaces we discussed. Nodes anyway. This is one. Roles, service accounts. Even that service account we created. There's no each everything will be created. Yeah, fine. This is all objects only in Kubernetes, nothing else. Whatever the UI is showing now, that is the main objects in your Kubernetes. That's it. Nothing. It's a simple, you know. Oh, if you understand all these concepts for you. Clear now? Yes. Okay, guys. Then see you on tomorrow session. Now we'll talk one little bit slowly, and maximum this month, then we'll finish it everything. Okay. If I start the job, cron job also won't complete. Okay. Then job and cron job will complete in a one day. And demand sets, that's a very simple topic. Demand set. And today is Friday, right? And tomorrow we have a session, guys, for Terraform. Okay. Tomorrow we have session for it. Let's take a class first. Is the 7 is fine, guys? Same time. 7 a.m. Okay, cool. Then meet you tomorrow 7 a.m. and it will go for till 7 to 8, 9, 10. Let's make it a 10. Okay, till 10. Okay. 3 hours or hours, 2.5 hours, 9:30. Let's based on the topic. Okay. Let's begin. 2.5 hours to 3 hours maybe takes it. We'll complete like a small concepts actually. All those will go very, very fast. Concepts, only concepts. Okay. We already have a event code also. Just I'm gonna explain for that code actually for you guys. Okay. Just you need to understand the concepts. Fine, guys. See you then tomorrow. Bye. Bye, guys. I'm sharing the link right away for the tomorrow session. Okay. Bye, guys.